It's showtime.
Hello and welcome to Musical Lyrical Lingo. We're your hosts, Tim
and LJ. Today and every week, we will be discussing musicals, but specifically what they taught us.
And we're maybe not going to be discussing much ourselves today because we have a special guest. Yay, the first of this season. We have Francis Foreman with us. How are you, Francis?
Hi, how you doing?
So we are very lucky that you have taken time out of your busy schedule to come and join us today. Francis is currently touring the UK in Jesus Christ Superstar. I'm sure you're exhausted.
I am, yeah. And especially like this weekend we're recording is currently Easter weekend. So, very, very topical.
Yeah, exactly. Which is why we were like, we've got Francis who's coming on. Happy days. Yeah. So is today your day off then? This is currently a Monday.
Yeah, well, usually it's always Mondays are normally sort of the get-in day, and we open on Mondays. But it's sometimes when it's a really long venue, like so when we were in London and then we went to Inverness, like we open on the Tuesday because it's time to get up there and everything like that. So we've had a long one. We opened tomorrow night in Swansea, and we were just sort of the other side. So they were very generous with their day off today on the bank holiday. So
yeah. Phew, I'm sure you need to catch up on rest and relaxation.
Yeah, a little bit of sleep, but other than that,
Well, thank you so much for coming on and doing our podcast
on your day off.
Yeah, you're welcome. It's fine.
See, I told him he was a good guy.
Yeah.
Francis, you have had a busy career thus far, haven't you?
I wouldn't necessarily say busy. I've done a couple of shows that have been,
You're being a wee bit modest.
No. I've been quite lucky. I'm content with what I've done.
Correct me if I'm wrong. So, at the moment on your credits, you've got Elf the musical. Was that in the West End?
Yeah, it was the West End. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you did a UK tour of Chicago, and then were you in West End as well for that? With that?
Yeah. Did both of those, UK and international, because we went to Singapore and
nice.
Then the West End as well. Yeah,
very good.
Also international because we went to Dublin, and obviously that was we did. So.
Is Dublin like seen as international on the touring scene?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It has its whole separate. It has to, but it has its like separate sort of category. Like, so if you say like a tour says UK and international, that's probably because it's come to Dublin. Like, so.
Oh,
okay, very good.
Yeah.
Lucky Dublin.
I know.
Hope they feel special. Poor gosh.
Yeah.
Getting the special label there. You've done Cabaret's UK tour as well.
Yeah, we did. That was sort of the last thing I did just before the pandemic, and we were literally sort of, on tour and was cut short by the version of everything. But it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, you're back up and running now, though.
Yeah, it's right.
After that horrible time that nobody talks about anymore.
No, it didn't.
Too depressing.
Yeah, it didn't happen.
But I know you because the first time we met each other was during Panto season in Belfast, isn't that right?
Yeah.
How many years did you do the Grand Opera House Belfast Panto?
I did seven years.
See, you loved it so much that you just keep coming back. Why keep coming back to Belfast for 7 times? What was it?
Timothy.
Well, yeah, of course. Like Timmy and the whole McMaster's crew, we're really good at it. It was just, sort of funny kind of story, but my first year there, I don't know if you remember, but I broke my hand on stage.
Yes.
And it was literally like in the second week, and the Opera House Panto runs for like 7 weeks, like 7-9 weeks. Like it's really long. Yeah. It just keeps going. But yeah, so I broke it so early on. I was like, I didn't even get a chance to finish my run. So when it came up the next year, I was like, well, I have to go back because I need to know that I can do the whole thing. And then obviously just like the team like sort of the creative team, but also sort of the company they have, like obviously May McFetteridge and Paddy, Jenkins. Like it's just such a lovely environment that I just had to keep going back. Like so, yeah. And luckily they have me back as well. So
yeah. And did you have a favorite panto out of the 7 you did, or well, 6 you did?
Yeah, because we did Snow White twice. Yeah, actually, I think. It's kind of tough. Probably Sleeping Beauty with like Lorraine Chase, which might be traumatic for some people, but I actually really enjoyed that.
Oh, she was lovely.
Yeah, she was
so gorgeous.
That was the first time it was done in Belfast, wasn't it?
That's right. Yeah, Belfast had never had a Sleeping Beauty until then. Yeah, because they seem to just keep doing the same 3 or 4 for years and years and years, and then suddenly new titles were coming in, so that was good.
I think because we were meant to do Peter Pan, and that's what they were selling it as.
Yeah.
At the end of the previous year, and then they just changed it like halfway through the year, and I was like, oh, but like, I still really enjoyed it, and actually, it's really annoying because they did that again like another year, advertised Peter Pan, and then didn't do it. So I've never actually done Peter Pan.
Oh,
and then typically like 2 or 3 years after I stopped like having they then did it, and I was like, great, thanks.
I remember that year that you which was the first year after the 7 years that you didn't do it. It was like, oh, where's Francis? Like everyone was lost without Francis in the building.
It felt really weird because I came to visit as well. I came and watched, and I was like, this is really weird. Like it's not right. But I love it.
Part of the furniture it just seemed wrong to be doing it without you. But look at you now, on to very cool things. And on top of all that, you're also a Zumba fitness instructor, isn't that right?
Yeah, for my sins.
Yeah.
So,
that's very cool.
It's quite handy. Like so, obviously, being in the arts, you're like 99% unemployed. So it's just it's quite handy as a kind of thing to do. It also keeps me fit and keeps me active and everything like that. So yeah, that's my side hustle.
You also do love to travel, don't you? Your holidays always look amazing.
Yeah.
After this current contract, have you any holidays booked or?
It's funny, actually, we were talking about it today about in September where we want to go, because I mean this current production of Jesus Christ Superstar is really intense. Like it like requires a lot physically and emotionally to do, and at the moment we're kind of in the middle of on tour anyway, like a 17-week chunk with no break. Which it's a lot, and so then we have like 1 week off and then we go back and do it, but it's like this is really long, so I'm just really looking forward to September, and we're really thinking we on the cards we've got sort of maybe the Philippines or Bali as a little break.
I always do look forward to seeing where is he this time. Like they always look absolutely lush. Very good. Well, what do you enjoy most about musicals? Our podcast is all about musicals and what musicals teach us. So what is it that you enjoy most about a musical?
I think for me it's the kind of the art form itself and how you can tell the story in sort of a really physical way. And you can watch the journey, but also like in the songs and the dance, there's just so many different ways you can interpret it and see it and visualize it. Obviously, you still have like film and stories and stuff like that, but just like the audience aspect and having that kind of interaction with them, and also at the same time where you have that little journey together. I love that in a musical, and that's the way that you can get to hear people's inner thoughts in song. Like that's just this. Yeah, obviously it's a great showcase for things, but it's just like a whole little package that's really nice. Yeah.
When did you first get involved in musical theatre then? What age would you have been?
So I was quite, well, there used to be these like summer theatre school things that we had in Peterborough growing up that was done by the local theatre, and they were great. They had kind of little introduction things. And so I was probably 6 or 7. that we did something like that, and that would just be like a tiny little like 3-day thing. It's funny actually as well that they there was this Glyndebourne Operatic Society company thing that came to Peterborough, and they sort of created an opera based around the city and everything like that, it was built and created, and that was one of my first professional things as a child of 7. Doing that. But it was kind of that, and then it was sort of I kept doing those theatre schools, and then like I really got into dance. I've always been a dancer kind of first.
Okay.
Yeah.
And sort of that took me through that way, and then I went to college to study dance and / musical theatre, and then it's just kind of something that I've kept going with.
You got the bug from early on then?
Yeah, quite.
And did you do like pantos like we would have done as kids?
Yeah. As a kid, like I did the same theatre, the Key Theatre back in Peterborough. I still did that. I did pantos as like the babes, as you know, like that. And then sort of worked my way up into the senior level things like that. So
like a rite of passage, isn't it?
Oh yeah. And
except you're way better than us because we just stayed at babes and then we're never promoted.
Yeah. So when did you know then that you wanted to pursue musical theatre as a career?
I think I kind of just went through school knowing that it wasn't what I wanted to do. It was never, luckily I didn't like struggle at school. It wasn't like I just couldn't do it. I just wasn't engaged with it. I would just, do the lessons and be like, yeah, great. But I had no feeling connection about it. But when when I was at dance school at the weekends, which started off with like 1 class on a Saturday, which became 2, which became 5, which became Saturdays, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. It was just sort of, I just really found a passion about it. And it was the feeling of when you're dancing, you can just really let go. And, it doesn't matter what you're doing essentially like that. And you're just doing it for yourself in that moment, and you're feeling all those things. Like I could really connected with that. It was about around like 14, 15 when I was like, I want to try and go for this. And luckily my dance teacher outside taught at the local tech college in Peterborough, and was like, well, we do the dance and drama programs at the college, so why not come and do that. And at the time you didn't have to stay in school post GCSE, so I could leave after GCSE, and that's when I went and did tech college. And while I was in the tech college, did a couple of auditions for cruise ships in my last year and got one. So then I went off at 18 and did 2 years on a ship. And then
what was that like at 18, being on a ship?
Loved. It's cool. It's amazing, especially because it's just sort of like, hey, I'm getting paid to do this. And being on a ship as well, like you have no expenses because you're being paid to live there, and your food there as well. Like, so it's pretty cool. Like as 18, and I was like the youngest crew member sort of in my first year on board. And so that was quite novel, being like, oh my God, I'm so young and here I am. And we went to so many places. Like, my first ship was at the South America and Americas, but then we came back and we did sort of Asia Pacific. So we sailed up past Alaska and then to Russia, and then came down Japan, China, Vietnam, Indonesia, Bali, and all of that stuff, Australia, New Zealand.
Wow.
And so that was like when I first kind of discovered Asia, and that's why I keep going back.
I was going to say, so was that when you got the bug for then traveling?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Kind of, it's the thing where you go to sleep and you wake up in another country. Like you didn't move, but somehow you're like, oh my God, and like, here I am. Yeah, absolutely, got it from that. Like my ideal job would be an international, like proper international tour that just goes off to Japan and China and Malaysia and South Africa and all that stuff, because I'm like, yeah, great, that's what I want.
Show me the world.
So was the cruise ship your first professional gig then, as such? Yeah, absolutely. And it was funny then because I hadn't been to like theatre school
or theatre college when I went on the ship, and so everyone else in the cast they'd all been to like Lanes and Arts theatre school, and I just felt like I had missed something.
Okay.
By not going, even though I was working, and that obviously doesn't make a lot of sense because like, well, you're already doing the job.
Yeah.
But I wanted to experience it in the same way that people experience universities and things like that, and they have that growing period. I was like, yeah, no, I want to go and do that. So luckily, one of my contracts finished in August, which is a bit of a bum time because obviously term starts in September. But because so many of my old dance school students had ended up at Tiffany's Theatre College, they allowed me like to go late and like have a late audition to start in that year.
Okay.
So I went, auditioned, and they were like, yeah, great, start on Monday. So
wow,
nice.
So then I went into college and did another 2 years at Tiffany's, and and then felt like I'd done it. And then
you felt like you did the right path then after that. Okay.
And sort of had more of the experience, more of the training in musical theatre, because I kind of just done dance before, but then this was everything else, because I was still wouldn't say, but I was not like the greatest, more confident singer, whereas other people were like happy. So obviously this then did more rounding and so
that's a really interesting point, where some people feel that they maybe have the talent and they don't want to go off to like training, but that's really interesting that you got a job and then you felt that you needed to just go and get some more that to just enhance all of your talents. So that's really
maybe
good.
Gives you a bit more of a longevity in the career, maybe.
I think so as well, because it definitely because it was like it was my choice to go back to college. And, so I was there on my own back, like, I was paying for the college and stuff as well. So, some days when it's just like, oh, I just can't be bothered. I was like, no, I need to be bothered. Like, I'm here for this. Like, I'm not going to have an off day. And I definitely had a different kind of mindset. And I was also then a slightly older as well, because by the time I'd done the ships and everything, I was then like 20. And, most people at the college were like 16, 17. So I just was a bit more mature in that kind of sense.
Yeah. So what was your first professional job post the training then that you did?
I'm not sure I put it on my CV anymore, but I did do like a live like Power Rangers event thing.
You were a Power Ranger?
I was the Green Ranger, like Xander.
What? That's the best.
He was my favorite too. Before he turned into the White Ranger.
Yeah.
Oh,
so Francis? That was just like a live little thing. But it was actually, it probably would be the Opera House Panto. Like I would have got that in like July time. Oh yeah, July-ish time, which was the end of my college term, and then obviously Panto starts like November. So that it would have been Opera House in Belfast.
My mind's still blown that you were a legit Power Ranger.
Power Ranger number one on your CV.
That is the classic thing on your CV. Forget the rest. You were a Power Ranger.
The most embarrassing thing is that I almost couldn't get the job because my head didn't fit inside the helmet. Like, so when obviously the helmet was pre-made, like that was it. But when we were going to try it on, I couldn't like get it in past my nose. So whenever I was in it, I had to squish like my nose in. It was really uncomfortable. So
we all suffer for the art. It's fine.
You're right. So when you started hitting the audition rooms, then, as you said, you were like 20. So how did you find that audition process, or audition processes in general? How do you find them?
I still hate auditions. Like they're just awful, because it's there's so many people. I mean, it's always a bit easier for guys as well, because in the female world, there's like 2, 3, 4 times as many like going after the same job. So there's always like it's slightly easier for guys, but there's still so many. And I always used to get really uncomfortable because not everyone, but there's loads of people that just know each other anyway. And so there's everyone, like before it started, everyone's palling and chatting. And there was just me. And especially if you just started out, you're like, you don't know anyone. So you're just awkward. Okay, get ready, stretch a little bit, and then you go into it. And a shy-ish person. I'm not. It's really funny because a lot of performers kind of are a bit more introverted than you would think they are because of the nature of the job. You're like, but you're on stage every night. You're giving it this, and it's like, yeah, but that's not me. That's something.
Yeah.
So in the auditions, though, it always used to be like they used to say, you really need to be seen, so you need to push your way to the front. You need to make sure that the panel can see you. And I just used to hate that. Because I was like, I don't want to force my way there. And obviously everyone else is forcing their way, then you don't have space, so then you can't do the routine properly. So I always used to just hang at the back and just be like, well, I've got loads of space, so at least I can do the routine properly. But maybe didn't get so many jobs because of that. But I've got much better at the handing auditions, because also as well, it's like, again, it's 99% of the time you don't get the job. And that's not always... It's not because of your talent, or it's because you have dark hair, or you're a bit too tall, or you're a bit too short, or you don't quite match up with someone else. And it's really hard to learn that it's not about you. It's not always about you, because otherwise you can take it really personally. And a lot of people end up quitting because you can't handle rejection on a daily basis in that kind of level. So once I could take away the fact that, okay, it's not me, it's not this time, and now I just go to auditions thinking, hey, I'm having a workshop, I'm having a class. It's a lot easier. There's less pressure. It's also it's really
good advice when you see in the bigger picture, isn't it?
As soon as you take the pressure out of it, it's easier, and you get more comfortable. It helps as well if you're in a job at the time, because then as well, it's like, it doesn't matter, because like, hey, I'm going to go to work anyway. But it's really hard on yourself to kind of disassociate that and just make it easier. But that's one thing I would absolutely say, just try to take the pressure off, and then you can enjoy it.
Yeah.
And is there anything you would recommend for people to sort of reset if they have had quite a lot of rejection, or are struggling with the audition process?
I would say
yourself.
Yeah, there's have a treat. Treat yourself. Be like, okay, I went there, I did my best. I am going to have an expensive coffee. I don't drink coffee, so I don't know. But I'm gonna have something that is your reward. Okay, you did well, I'm gonna treat myself. That's fine. But something that gives you something from it, even if you didn't get the job, you've got something for going. So
very good. Well, obviously today we want to talk about Jesus Christ Superstar because it looks phenomenal. But before we get to that, can we talk about some of your previous musicals that you've been in then?
Yeah, because especially
is there a particular one you want to start with?
Because I was going to say, because you've already done a couple of episodes of shows that was already in, and I listened back to them. Yeah, obviously. I listened and I was just like, I don't remember getting an invite for this one, but
well, we were waiting for the big one. Francis.
Sure.
So which one do you wish we had have invited you on for then?
Oh, it's Chicago, hands down.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was it like being in such a night? Chicago is an iconic show, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And that was probably because I saw the film as well. That was one of my first movie musicals that I saw, Catherine Zeta-Jones and everything. And I knew the exact same trivia about the fact that she wanted the bob so that you could see her face.
Yeah.
That it was absolutely her doing the stuff.
Yeah.
Because it was incredible. But the show, it's just... there's nothing else like it. Even in all the other Fosse shows and the Kander and Ebb musicals, they share similarities, but Fosse and Chicago is just so specific, and it's so easily recognizable that it's quite a pressure in itself, doing that job.
What was it like learning that choreography?
Oh, it was. I spent every day in rehearsals thinking I was not good enough.
Oh, Francis.
Just because, and also, when they do the rehearsals for the show, the American associate who comes over, Gary Christ, he was an original Fosse guy, like, and he knew Fosse, and they did all the work together, and like, so you're in the room and just like with a legend. Like, and the sort of the insight that he would give to things, like little moves he would give the backstory of, some of which are not suitable for under 18s. So, you know, it's good one of those. But like, it was, it was just like, he would just have this way of describing something, and instantly you'd go, oh, I get it.
Wow.
But yeah, it was incredible, and lucky that I got to do it not only on tour but also in town. And both times, and I even got to play Billy Flynn in town as well.
Yes,
so that was exciting.
Because I remember seeing you putting up on your Instagram that you were going on, and I was like, "He's going on for Billy." What's that like? Because were you the understudy for Billy Flynn, or
I was? Yeah, so I was the understudy both times, and I was actually the second understudy, but when I went on, but the first wasn't ready. But it was terrifying, like absolutely terrifying, especially because his entrance is like surrounded by the girls, like with the feathers, and he just pops up.
So iconic.
It's just you, like as you come up, and you really have to. You're controlling the band behind you and the audience out in front. It was terrifying, and also wasn't made any better by the fact that my mic was popping. So I did my first scene and then had to go off and get it like cleaned out and reset. And there was me like crying in the wings, going, "Oh, it's all going terribly wrong, and it's my first debut." And like, but yeah, terrifying.
Worth it though. What was that feeling when it was over? That performance was over and you'd done it.
No, it's like pure euphoria. There is really there's nothing like being on stage. And having done like an iconic leading like male part as well, and the way that the Chicago ends, everyone gets an individual bow, which is great. Like, it's not just like everyone has an individual moment, and you come out and everyone's still there. And that, but to have led a show and do that is it's incredible. And it was also like, you know, obviously my mum come down for the first things. I had my friends out there and stuff as well. Like it was huge. It's never going to get topped in my mind, really.
Love it.
And what's it like being a swing or an understudy?
I mean, it's hard, especially because you spend swings in particular, like shows wouldn't go on without swings, like quite literally. There's been points on this tour of Jesus Christ Superstar, we've had like 10, 11 people off, like with injury and sickness and stuff like that. And like, actually the cast has only got about 25 people. So if you've got 11 people missing, and everyone like steps in, but like swings, you know, you have to know every other person's part on there. Like if you're just like you're in an ensemble, you know your track, and that's all you have to worry about. Swings, you know, up to 3 or 4 different individual tracks, plus then sometimes you get asked to do other things and other ensemble bits at all. Like, so that's a lot to hold in your mind when you're understudying roles. It's hard because obviously you are not the person, like not normally. So the show gets created and it's been made by this person, and you then have to kind of step into it. And sometimes people just want an exact copy, but that's not you. And you still need to bring your own like element to the character, while obviously still doing everything the character needs to do. But it is hard to kind of find the balance of I don't want to throw people by doing stuff that is completely different, but I also still need to be me in the character. And that was quite hard. When I covering Billy, I was the understudy for Todrick Hall. That's quite different.
Very. And
I also had that. You obviously then have that fear that obviously people have come paid to see him. And when you come out, sometimes like people be like, "Oh, well, that's not Todrick," and I'm just going to sit here and be very unimpressed. So you have to work like twice as hard. But you win them over eventually.
Of course you do. Obviously the choreography is insane in that show. Like, what was the rehearsal time? Like, how long were you in rehearsals before you went
for
out?
Chicago? Well, when we did the tour, I think the rehearsal was about 5 weeks. We did, yeah, and we did.
Everything has to be so together, doesn't it? It's like to get that.
It's so not which. I think looking back, 5 weeks is quite generous.
Okay,
for the things that we've done. I mean, because the show is done. Like, especially with a show like Chicago, like it's set, like it's literally, it's the same choreography. They're not creating it. So we're not kind of workshopping things. It's just like, this is this. So I think we did about three weeks in London, and then we opened in Oxford. So we did like then a week of sort of tech on stage and everything like that. And obviously, but then that's not for you. That's for the technical aspect and the set and costumes and the lighting and everything like that. So the show is kind of was done within 3 weeks, and then obviously you then put it on stage. What did we have from Elf? We had 5 weeks. Cabaret maybe 4 weeks, I think. 3 weeks and then a week of tech, or two weeks now. And then Superstar, I think, was 4 weeks, and then opening tech week and a half. So 5 weeks is pretty
reasonable,
common.
For a professional like you, I think maybe we would still need a wee bit of work.
6 months.
Not long enough. Obviously, our podcast is all about what musicals have taught us. Is there an overriding lesson that you learned from your time in Chicago?
Don't give up.
Okay.
I think that's what I got from that, because I got Chicago 6 years after I graduated.
Okay.
From college, and obviously, you know, I had done the pantos and I'd done other little like tours and things, but everyone is different on how they mark their career and stuff like that. But Chicago was my big thing, and that, obviously that took 6 years. And if I'd sort of given up a year or two into it, I would never have got there. And then actually from Chicago, I sprung sort of then my confidence into other things. So absolutely, I would take "Don't Give Up" from Chicago.
And from Chicago, did you spring into cabaret then? Was that what came next for you?
So actually, it was like back-to-back Chicago, because it was tour and then town.
Yeah.
But then, after then town, Chicago came cabaret. And that rolled into that, and that was actually, they linked really nicely. Like I kind of fell into that because it was so similar to obviously shows and types of that, and that really helped. And I was like, oh my god, this trajectory is ongoing, it's going to be great. And then when I was like my final for Wicked, and I was like, oh my god, this is really going. And then COVID.
Oh, that's so annoying.
But yeah, it's fine, we move on.
And did you learn anything from your time in cabaret? That's quite a... You like to do heavy musicals, Francis?
Yeah, I know,
Apart from Elf, light relief there with Elf, Christmas.
That was just, it's very sparkle, jolly, twinkle. But cabaret was probably... Because... if you remember the way, it's a completely different version to what's currently in town, because it's the Rufus Norris national production, and the way that it ended, we had to sort of we were huddling on stage. We had to strip completely naked, and then sort of we would walk to the back of the stage, and then like the sound of gas would get turned on, and then action fall. And horrific to watch, but so having to do it
effective.
Like we, so many times, because that's the end of the show. That is the end. But so many times, there was no applause. There was no, because people, you don't clap that, do you? And so it was so powerful, and having to do it every single night, 8 times a week. I had to build up quite a resilience to that, because the first time we did it, and it actually we were in tech, and they were like, okay, so we're going to do it now, but we're going to do the whole thing. But we didn't realize we were then going to do the strip and walk off. We thought that was going to happen another time, and they're like, yeah, we're just going to do the whole thing and get it done. And doing that, literally bearing yourself on stage, and but having gone through the process of the show, which slowly declines into its sort of descent of sort of madness and the time that happened, like that was a lot. So I definitely learned sort of resilience on that one, and being able to sort of take emotional trauma, which funnily enough comes through into Jesus Christ Superstar as well, because that has a similar not ending, but the ending is quite traumatic. You know, no spoiler alert, like he dies again. And it's quite graphic in this version, the way that it's done.
And it's like a build up to, and you know it's going to happen. It's like one of those like unsaid things, you know, it's just kind of hanging there and you're almost waiting for it. So I suppose the same in Cabaret and the same in Superstar. So you're always on the edge of your seat. So I suppose as a performer, that's enhanced so much more that it must feel so deflated afterwards.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's both Cabaret and the Superstar, like it's not a spoiler word. Like in Cabaret, you know that World War II is going to happen. You know that the Nazis are going to sort of take over, and then the Jews that we've had in the performance, the gays as well, the storylines. You know what's going to happen to them. And in the same in Jesus Christ Superstar, the trajectory is there. You know exactly what's going to happen, and it's
And I suppose if you're doing your job properly, there's never going to be a disconnect in that, oh, this is the 6th time I've done this week. Like, if you're in it, then it's all going to be just as difficult.
Oh, yeah. Every single time, like, doing it properly, you are in that moment. And there's so many times on both of them, I would just be crying. Like in the end, because you've been building up this emotional tension the entire time, and then it just comes out of your body. And sometimes I'm just like crying, and I don't know why.
Yeah. Oh well, this current job must just be so much more refreshing then. So let's talk about it then. Jesus Christ Superstar currently on UK tour. Where are you heading to next? Where's your next venue then? Where are you starting tomorrow?
Swansea tomorrow,
Swansea. And are you there for a week?
Yeah.
And are most of the venues on this tour like a kind of week and then you move on, or is there any longer?
No, so I was really hoping that we would do some where we sit in a bit more, but it's all weekly. We were in Manchester for 2 weeks where we opened, and actually we're going back to Manchester to do a different theatre.
Okay.
But it's all weekly, and I'm just really, really, really annoyed that we're not coming to Belfast or Dublin.
You're really annoyed? Well, as soon as you put it on your social media, I was like, are you coming to Belfast? And you were like, I don't think so. And I was like, no, what?
I'm so disappointed. So all complaints need to go to Crossroads Live about why they're not coming. But I'm like, it's the first time I've been on tour and not come across the island. Like, I'm so annoyed.
Yeah, I know. Me too.
We have found this a lot. Like, either people are really good at coming to Belfast and Dublin, or we just get forgotten about altogether. Yeah. And we're like, we're just a wee boat ride away, or
and it's like, visit us. Difference. We were in Liverpool, and that's literally where you could get on the ferry and then go across. I don't want to go too much into it because it's a little political.
Okay,
but.
Shocker.
There were changes done to sort of the commercial touring agreement, in like the one that basically that governs how tours and contracts are run, and there was a change to the policies and things that needed to apply to tours going to Dublin in particular, which I think have then affected producers' choices to come across because it's become more expensive for them.
Yeah. It's annoying.
Yeah.
Especially for this production. So am I right in saying this originated in Regent Park open air during the summer season? Is that right? So production as such, but it's just been okay.
It's the exact same one that was in Regent's Park in, I think, either 2016 or 2017. So it is that production. The same choreographer, Drew McConey, the director, Tim Sheeder. It's the exact same production, just on tour.
So what makes this production of Jesus Christ Superstar different from previous? We had kind of said in our last episode, when we were doing Jesus Christ Superstar, as a show, it opens itself up to completely different interpretations and styles. Like it could be restaged in endless ways.
Oh, so, yeah, 100%. Like if you think it's modern. The thought behind this one is that they really wanted to take it back to the original 70s album. So it's literally based on the album, and the idea is that the album is spinning and the story is just playing out through in like one motion. Like if they could get away with not having an interval, they would.
Okay.
Unfortunately, the theatre wants to make money on drinks. So, but it's basically, it was the idea behind the creative team was taking it back to the music. So the choreography is linked to the lyrics. Like we are sort of physical representations of the lyrics. Like Drew's idea was that if you turned the music off, you would still be able to understand what the person is singing through the movement. So that's one thing that's really different as well. It's very choreography heavy. Like a lot of people sometimes come to it and think, oh, there's loads of dancing, and and apparently in the process the director Tim was like, more, let's have more movement, let's do more here. So we are physically on stage a lot, doing a lot of choreography, which is quite draining.
I was about to say that's nice for your body. How many times a week?
Just 8. And I am also like one of the oldest members of the cast, going around. So there's just me like limping around at the back. And
I suppose that would be okay if it was a really happy, cheery show. But as well as being physically exhausting, it's mentally draining too.
And that's also another idea that they had. Like on our first day of rehearsals, they literally told us the idea behind all the choreography is to exhaust you, so that you're not just pretending to be exhausted, you are exhausted. You're always going to be reaching to try to finish the choreography. Like, so the idea is that we will never achieve perfection in like the choreography, because we're just going to be too tired. So if you haven't done it right, you know that you're doing it right, if that makes sense. Like,
yeah. Indulge me for a minute, because Drew McConey is, in my opinion, one of the best choreographers out there at the moment. So did you work with him in the rehearsal room, or was it like, what was that like?
It's funny because he's quite a small man, just physically, but just like the way that he would just sort of demonstrate some things, he'd be like, oh my God, I can't do that. But we had a great associate, Ashley Andrews, who sort of done the project in Regent's Park, Blackstone both times, and at the Barbican, and is also the associate on the American tour, because they do the same thing. So he was great working through it. But when Drew would come in, because he wasn't in all the time, because he's a busy man. He's now the artistic director of Regent's Park, so he's just over. But it was great, and you could just see how his mind just kind of just went to different places to create the stuff. So a bit cool.
Yeah, very jealous. What was the audition process like for Jesus Christ Superstar? Was it like any normal one, or because of that high level of?
It's interesting because talking to everyone else in the cast, we've all had like slightly different experiences. Like my audition was I was done in a week. I had a call on a Tuesday, I think, in the week, and I had dancing first round, and then call back to sing, and then I had basically a final day on the Friday where I danced again and then sang and did the material that they sent me. So I only really had 2 days of auditions, and it was one of those interesting things because I was then flying to Singapore that day of the final, so I had to tell them, I do need to leave because I need to go and catch a flight. So I was done in like 2 days. Done.
Oh, right. Okay.
And that was end of March last year. that was mine. But some people had sort of auditions the week before, and they spread out across 2 or 3 weeks. Some people, their auditions were like in May last year and stuff like that. So it was really, really spread out and really different for everyone. Mine is definitely not the norm, that you just appear twice and then get the job. Like, that's not normal.
You were so good, Francis.
I was just like, yeah, go on.
Yeah.
We'll have him. Sign him up.
Yeah. But
what roles do you play? What role
so
do you
so I'm an ensemble and bass priest. So when they do the Jesus Must Die things and everything like that, so I'm in that. And then I also cover Caiaphas as well.
Oh, deep voice there then.
Yeah, it is, yeah. It's very down, and it's very, like, if you could do the show at sort of like 7 a.m. in the morning, it would be perfect for me.
The costumes look class for the high priests, like unbelievable.
It is pretty cool. They sort of, it's obviously big sort of dramatic robes and things and flowing, but we're also in like military khakis and boots. And it's cool. And then the choreography has been linked to the costume design because, you know, Drew was like, yeah, we want all the movement to swish your capes, to swish as much and move the things around. So again, it's all connecting through. It was a real collaborative process that was done on all aspects of the show.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Love the catchy tunes and insightful discussions on Musical Lyrical Lingo? Why would you not? Now you can reap your fandom. Ooh, we've got fans. And show off your love of all things musical theatre with our exclusive merchandise. Ooh.
From comfy tees,
T-shirts,
mugs to stylish tote bags, we have something for every fan. Our designs are inspired by the show's iconic themes.
Because we are so iconic.
And featured playful quotes, alpha, and graphics that will have you humming along.
I will never work again.
Wherever you go.
So head over to our merch store now and start shopping. Spend your money, people. And don't forget to share your pics on our social media using hashtag podcast Musical Lyrical Lingo merch. We love to see our fans rocking our gear.
Yes, we do. Happy shopping.
Very good. When we did our episode on Jesus Christ Superstar, we were talking about the initial reaction to the show and, you know, the reactions that the show tends to get with regards to protests outside the theatres and things like that. We were just wondering now, today, is that still happening? Have you come across many venues where there's been people who've had something to say about it?
Just one venue, and that was in Newcastle.
Oh, interesting.
And there was, a bit random, but there was a preacher outside who was basting the show, being like, look at what this is. But actually, weirdly, nowhere else. We've not had any protests. We had more protests outside Cabaret, which was a bit weird.
Wow.
Yeah, but GCS, we've not had any really. It's going well,
isn't it? That's nice that there are still people like decide to come and with their placards out the front.
And we did wonder, is that a reason maybe why it wasn't in Belfast? Because usually whenever it's in Belfast, there's quite a lot of protests.
When I did an Amdram production of it in the Opera House, we had protests every night. Right front,
every night. I think. See, I don't know. I mean, I would like to think that they wouldn't have been put off by the potential. Because then you're sort of silencing art, aren't you? And
that's it.
But you never know. It might have played into their minds a little bit. But
no, we just wondered. We wondered if like the world had changed as we hoped it had. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so that's good.
That's my experience of all the other venues. Like we've not, you know, literally every show ends with a standing ovation. That like the journey that the audience have gone through, like because you know they're literally crying and stuff like that. Yeah, it definitely seems to. It's still definitely resonating with people. Like, so
brilliant. Do you have a favorite moment in the show? That's a hard question, I know.
It's a really hard question
because it's such a brilliant show. And why do you pick a moment? Sorry, if you don't, it's fine.
I would say the part I enjoy the most is kind of the finale, like the Superstar, like the number, which is a bit gruesome because obviously it's the crucifixion scene and everything like that as well that is going on. But just the sort of everyone's on stage, and it's such this weird sort of juxtaposition because as the mob, we're really celebrating, and sort of it's almost we're in like gospel gowns and everything like that, and having this big celebration. And then on the other side, he is being crucified and beaten up, and just sort of that contrast. And you know, there's blood but glitter, and everything like that. It's just, yeah, I enjoy Superstar. Like that is one of my favorite things. I just like to say I don't dislike any part of the show, but for me, it's the big finale, and we're really it's all the energy is building up to the end, and we're just like we're chanting, we're cheering, and we're like everything like that. And then obviously crucifixion, completely different tone, and it happens. But it's horribly exhausting. But
I was going to say, at that point in the show, is your body not screaming at you, Francis?
Oh yeah.
Are you serious?
Let me sleep.
Please stop, because I have nothing left. And that's also quite a euphoric feeling as well. Like I've literally given everything, and we finish, and I'm staring up at the ceiling, kind of like barely being able to breathe, and then have to sing. It's still my favorite part. And then also I am quite involved in the fight, so I get quite bloody and gory, and I enjoy that part, except I'm a bit weird. So
it just looks amazing. Blood, glitter, like everything's going on in this production. It's class. Do you have like a come down, like ritual or routine at the end when it's, you know, you mentioned about it being quite euphoric by the end? Like, is there something you do on a nightly basis to kind of reset?
Well, I always have to shower after the show. So I tend to enjoy a nice long shower.
Because you're covered in glitter and blood.
The blood and glitter, so it all has to come off. But then when I'm staying in the towns, I like to find a venue that's sort of maybe about 25 minute walk away from the theatre. And I'll always use that walk to decompress. Like, and I'll be listening to a podcast.
Musical Lyrical Lingo.
Musical Lyrical Lingo. And I would just, I just take that time to completely kind of switch off from the show and decompress that way. That's what I like to do. I'll take my walk. I'll separate art and person and do it that way, because it is important, especially with the shows like these that sort of take you, like especially personally as the artist, like push you through quite an emotional journey. You do need to be able to switch off.
Even that touring lifestyle, that can't be the easiest. What's that like, being on tour? You've done quite a few now, haven't you? Like, do you enjoy being part of a touring production?
I do. I really enjoy being on tour. This one has been perhaps a little harder than my previous ones. So I got engaged.
Oh, congratulations!
Much. So I then I couldn't get married. Because I was going on tour, so we've had to move the wedding, which is annoying. But you know, it's those things. What's also been hard is, you know, so we moved to Dublin in 2020. So now I live in Dublin, but obviously the majority of the tour, well, all of the tour is in the UK.
So you live in Dublin and you're not coming to Dublin on this tour? Francis, sort it out. I don't care what contracts they're saying. Get that sorted.
Can you do a one-man version of it?
Exactly, yeah. I'll just go down to the Bord Gosh. I'll just stand outside the Bord Gosh in front and just sing the whole thing. And then,
we'll be there. You'll have at least 2 audience members.
I've got about 3 people on the street as well that want to come. Like, oh, you're coming? I'm like, no. But yeah, it's just that really thing. So it's been really hard. Obviously, like my relationship is we're not in the same place, and my partner travels a lot for his job, like is in India or Singapore or Canada. So it's really, that has been hard, but I enjoy touring. Like and you get so close as a group on tour, because you're living and working together. I mean, you go to the strange cities that you've never been to, you're the only people that you know, so you do everything together. Whereas I have found in town, like in West End, it can be more of just a job. You will come in, you'll do the show, and you'll go home because
so you're not building up that friendship or
exactly. Whereas on tour, like you have to put up with like the theatre being a bit crap, like it's cold, the window is kind of broken or whatever like that. You go through all the adversities together, and it kind of it makes that nice little group. So that's what I enjoy about tour. And I like traveling, as has been said. So I enjoy going around and going to the cities that you wouldn't necessarily have chosen to go to. Like, we were in, oh my gosh, where were we? Where did I come from?
No,
yeah. And I was like, I haven't been back to Southampton since my last tour with Chicago. That was 2016. So that was 8 years ago. But also we've been to Bristol, and I would have no reason to go to Bristol, but that's really a nice like aquarium city. Up to Scotland, Inverness, Glasgow, Edinburgh, like it's just really nice. Traveling is doing that at the same time and getting paid. And that's great.
Yeah, and I take it you have to sort out your digs and your accommodation yourself. Can that be a bit stressful?
Yeah, it can be, but like you said, this is my 4th kind of tour, so I'm quite used to doing that now.
Yeah, and you probably have your wee places in each venue that you've already been to, which is cool.
It's kind of like, I like this one. I know, like, so I'm having to work less, but I try and then help out the people it's their first tour or they're actually be like, and then you see them. It's something like that, but that can be quite a lot. But yeah, it's fine as long as you know when not to stay. It's fine.
Yeah.
Well, that's the important bit, isn't it? Yep, not going back there. Maybe that's what he's saying about Belfast.
Maybe.
No.
7 years says different, doesn't it, Francis?
It does.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Same question, I suppose, as Chicago. What has Jesus Christ Superstar taught you anything then in your process with it? Maybe that lesson's still yet to come.
Oh, I mean, it's definitely taught me. I was about to say tolerance, but that's probably not true. Endurance, going through the show and going on the process that we do each time. Like you are literally exerting yourself to exhaustion, like deliberately. So I have found that I can actually push through more than I thought I could, maybe. And is
there anything you did to help with that? I mean, you're a fit guy anyway, but is there anything you went, right, coming into this contract, knowing what's involved and the level of it, was there anything you kind of did to help you?
So I didn't actually know the show because I never got to see it when it was on before. So it was only the audition. Yeah, basically it was like, oh God. The audition, the routine that we did at the audition was the Simon Zealots one, which is full out. Like you're just out of breath before it's even started. So then I was like, okay, so hopefully they're not all like that. And they're not, but they're all just challenging in their own different ways. Luckily, I am reasonably fit. Like I have, taught at the gyms, and I go to the gym and I keep myself active in that way. So that was a real help that I was already like, and being a dancer as well, like I have some benefits to that as well, that I was a bit fitter, but it has really shown me that I do need to keep taking care of myself, because there are injuries and stuff that are happening, and it's just being careful and sensible, knowing that I do need to cool down, and I do need to sort of take an ice pack for a little bit and just allow my body to recover, because I need it to do it again in about 12 hours time. That kind of thing, my like well-being, how important that is, like even outside the show, that's something that I've also taken away from this job.
Yeah. And how long's the contract for? When do you play till?
So we're currently set to finish in mid-August.
Okay.
So I've got, we're at April, so 4.5
Yeah.
months. Yeah. So, but it will have been a year because we started in August and then we finished in August.
Yeah.
I actually get 2 birthdays on tour.
Oh, that's nice.
It's like, so my first birthday was in the rehearsals, like, and then I'm still on tour for my second one. I'm like, hey guys, it's my birthday again.
So once this contract's over, then you're getting married, yes?
Yeah, that's
the next production. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I don't know, like, regardless of what, if any job, I might even be taking a break, just for my sanity. But yeah, my marriage is happening next year.
Nice.
Exciting.
That is exciting. That's lovely. Is there any like musicals or parts that, you know, looking into the future after you've got married, is there any musical that you have on your list that you really want to be in, or a part you really want to play?
I do. It's funny. I would quite like to be Shakespeare in Something Rotten.
That has to come to the West. Why is it not already been here?
I don't know why. Because it did Broadway and then it did Sheffield, I think, or was meant to, but it just hasn't had a run here yet. And I'm like, I love it. I love that the music in that. It's the same people that did Doubtfire. Yeah, and like it really is. But I wonder if that's why, because obviously it was an American. It's an American British thing, so it's how they kind of have taken that. Whether they think will it work in Britain, like. I would love that, and like his songs are great. Like I use some of like "Hard to Be the Bard" is one of my kind of audition songs that I take with the Olympics because I love it. It's great, his character and stuff. But that's for me would be great. But other than that, I've never really not had designs on like what is my dream thing. I think Chicago was probably one of them, and then since I've ticked that, I'm just like, I'll take a job. Like,
nice.
Fair enough. Do you have any funny on stage mishaps or embarrassing moments? We on the podcast, for some reason, seem to bear all with regards to like really terrible things that have happened to us on stage. Do you have any? I'm sure.
Constantly, like they happens like all the time. Like I even still cling to the terrible memories of when I was in school. We were doing a production. It was a play as well, so that's obviously a bad sign. But we were doing like a production of Cider with Rosie, which no one will know, like because it's just a thing. But so I played like the narrator version. There's a main character, and the narrator is actually that character older. So I was narrator for like the first part of the play and then became the person like towards the end of the play. And we were doing the production and the scene had changed. And in my mind, I was like, oh, the scene changed. I need to start doing the narration part. So I got up, started speaking and realized that the scene hadn't actually happened. So I just did the thing where I slowly stopped talking and then sat back down.
Oh no.
And then obviously the scene happened and then I had to stand up and do the narration again.
Oh no.
And so obviously it's very, very obvious that it went wrong. And there was just dying inside, like wanting to be swallowed up and just like end everything. And that's still following me like 25 years later. Like I'll wake up and have cold sweats from it. Go, oh God. But it
happens to the best of us.
Yeah. But, I mean, it's like costume malfunctions. Like I used to split my trousers loads in panto. Like
who hasn't, Francis? Who hasn't?
You know what I mean? Like, and that would go, and then you'd be like, oh, okay, so I can't turn around, and I'm just gonna shuffle off like backwards.
Francis, I kind of have the opinion that you're not doing it right unless you have split your pants at least once in your career, right? Yeah.
I remember in Chicago, because if you remember, so like the ensemble sit at the side for the thing, and I remember in one venue I went back to sit on my chair and it wasn't quite set up right, so I sat down and then just fell off. Just leaned off and fell back into the wind, which is great. Yeah, and it's just.
Have you been okay with this current tour? Have you got through embarrassment free yet? Or maybe.
Oh no, it's already happened.
That question.
There's one thing, there's like a dance break that happens when we come to arrest Jesus, and it keeps turning, like sort of facing the front, facing the back. And it's pretty much happened. It's almost a rite of passage to everyone. But so you do the first move, you turn around, you jump, and then you're supposed to turn around again. And I did not turn around. Like, so everyone else has jumped and turned around, and there's still me at the front, and I've gone, oh no. And then you kind of just slowly keep moving.
Yeah.
So it's, yeah.
So that's Francis.
It didn't happen to me as well, but when we come out as the priest, we're holding staffs and we're in the robe, and the staffs kind of turn, and then they have a microphone on the top. And guy behind me, he like turned it round, brung the mic down, but then the staff broke away from the mic, so he was just left holding the microphone, and that was. I mean, I died of laughter, and he died.
Very supportive.
Yeah, totally. Like, got your back. But it's just little things like that. It's great.
Very good. Well, have you any advice for us? Moving on with the podcast, is there a musical that we haven't done yet that maybe you think we should look at next? And if you mention one that we've done, then we'll tell you. Don't worry.
I don't know, because I mean your catalogue is quite long, so
I
know.
You're going to run out eventually. They're going to run out of material.
I don't think we will.
We say that, but the list doesn't seem to be getting any smaller, to be honest with you.
So I do one, and I'll give it a little shout out just because. So one of our guys in the ensemble, in the company, has gone to do it, and it's called 42 Balloons.
Oh yes, I've heard of it, but I'm going to write it down now.
Yeah. So it's about to kind of open in the Lowry in Manchester. And it's based on a real life event, which almost inspired Up, the Disney, the Pixar, and it's basically this guy, Larry. I don't, because I've only kind of listened to a bit of it, and I've not let Charlie explain the whole thing to me because I'm going to go and see it, and I want to kind of go in like blind. But he basically, something happens and he attaches like 42 balloons to his lawn chair and just goes off on like this journey thing in America. But that's supposed to be quite good. So I will throw that one out there.
Research that.
Yeah, absolutely. And if we were to ask you what is, in your opinion, the best musical or your favorite musical, do you have one, or is that too hard a question?
I think it's I'm gonna take the easy out and say that it's too hard, because so like musicals can be so different. So it's hard to then kind of just say, oh, well, this is great and it's better than the other, because it will give you something that's not in that one. And obviously everyone's taste is different. That's why I don't read reviews, because that's one person's review and it's not the 2,000 people that are in the auditorium clapping at the end of it. Like, because taste is subjective, and it's the same with musicals.
And we always say there's a different musical for whatever emotion you're feeling.
Yeah, 100%. Like I even like, you know, when like TV shows do like their random musical episodes, like Grey's Anatomy had a musical episode, and like Buffy had a musical like episode and stuff like that. Like they're great. I love them. So there is something like absolutely. There's a different one for everyone. I can't say that one is better than the other.
Fair enough.
I can tell you the ones that I don't like. That's a lot.
Give us that. Give us one of those then.
Tell us one you don't like. We have.
You see, if you say Oklahoma, I will actually cry and not speak to you ever again.
I won't say that. It's going to be very controversial.
Just say it.
Maybe name one or two so that nobody gets offended.
Oh no, it's two for that. Okay. For personal reasons, I dislike Wicked.
Oh,
that is because I've had 6 and never got the job. So I'm like, no, you're done. You're dead. Like you're old. Like just gone. It's done. And also, I'm not overly rated with the Book of Mormon. Like.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, like I went to go, I saw it, and just wasn't. I was like, oh, okay. I think I enjoyed the soundtrack more.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm gonna maybe stick with just. I will throw out that I love Little Shop of Horrors. That is actually that's
okay.
probably one of my favorites because I
Yeah.
love that. I like obviously the movie with Rick Moranis and it's Green.
Green.
Helen. Yeah. Like it was brilliant. I love that film. So I love that. Actually, if I could be in a musical, I would love to be in Little Shop as well. That'd be quite cool. But yeah, so I might stop now with my opinions because
we always fall out over which musicals we like and dislike, and it's fine. I'm always right.
Yeah.
Listen, Francis, thank you so much for taking the time to have a chat with us today. We really appreciate it. It's been fantastic. It's always nice hearing from people who are actually doing it. So
no worries.
Appreciate it. So you are Swansea at the moment this week?
Swansea, and then Norwich, and then Eastbourne, Birmingham, Truro, Oxford, Wimbledon, Manchester, and week off.
You've done well to remember. Like, I don't know how with everything else you have to remember. I don't know how you remember where you're going to next. Very good.
Because people say, like, where are you? And then I'm like, I am here.
Yeah. Brilliant. Well, for our listeners, if any of those theatres are nearby, make sure you get to see it, because we're not going to get to see it.
Sad thing.
Sad.
Every time I go in, I'll be like, are we going to Belfast yet?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Just throwing it in.
There is a week that we could do, because essentially we were supposed to go to Dartford, and they had to close the theatre because it had the concrete, the thing.
Oh, wow, right,
so they had to close Dartford. So we have a week free now. So I'm like, let's fill it with the Opera House. Like, so.
Absolutely. Come on. We can do it.
Maybe we can start a petition.
I think so. Well, you know how upset I was when I heard it wasn't coming here. I was like, what? Are you serious? Like, I think of all the shows that are out on UK tour, like Jesus Christ Superstar was right at the top of the list for wanting, to see it, because it just looks fantastic. So, well, enjoy the rest of the tour and enjoy your evening off. Is it bed early? Do you have to go to bed early?
I do have to get to bed early because I have a very early start tomorrow, which may be pre 5 a.m. So.
Oh.
Well, thank you so much for taking time.
You're very welcome.
Appreciate it.
Francis Foreman, you are an absolute legend. Enjoy the rest of the tour and look forward to seeing what comes next.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.